that, let's get started. It's 5:01, so we're going to start walking through the front of the shop and kind of show you what it looks like to come to ModVans. So the main thing I wanted to capture out here was the ModVans sign, the front entrance to our new shop. We moved here about 6 months ago. This is our waiting room with the guests here. So at the old shop we had, basically we were all crammed into 1.5 rooms, and at this new shop we have 11 offices, so we haven't occupied them all yet, which is pretty exciting to have a little room to expand. Also lots of bathrooms, which is very nice. So you could just swing the camera into some of these offices to see. We did have them repaint and do the floors. Some nice big offices. You can share rooms. This is right here next to us. This is one of several engineering rooms. A couple 3D printers we're using to print small parts, prototypes, a few small production parts. Out here we have a lot more offices, so a lot of offices have interior windows, which is nice, so our supervisors can have their own office with a computer and stuff, but they can still see what's going on. Nice big break area here. Again, lots of restrooms, which is nice. The old shop just didn't have enough anymore. Yeah, we were busting at the seams. So here, our first shop was 2,400 square feet. Our next shop was about 3 times the size, 8,400 square feet. We filled up both almost as soon as we moved in. And as you're going to see in this tour, we moved into this space about 6 months ago. This is 23,000 square feet, so about 3 times the size, or almost 10 times the size of our first space. And 6 months into it, we're pretty full. So, but it's still just so great to have at least a little bit of elbow room to move in. So over here, we're just going to start showing you a little more of the tour. But first we're going to go outside to show you the vans that we have set up, because it's starting to get dark, and so we'll have a little bit of light if we do it now, and then we'll come back in and kind of do the main shop tour. So this is kind of giving you guys an idea of how we set up the vans for a normal, if we go to a show. So we have 3 vans, demo vans that the company owns, and we take all the shows, and they're the 3 different sizes. So you're going to see later in the presentation, we actually have 6 models in 3 different sizes, and we have one of each different size van as a demo, so that customers can get a feel for what their vehicle would be like if they purchase it and get it. So out here we have a nice setup. See our branding on our things. This is actually the SEMA van. This is actually probably the first public view outside of SEMA of that van. We did a wrap, and we did a partnership with a really cool and avant-garde electric mountain bike company. So that was really fun. And it's got back, they didn't want to wash it because it's got the official desert dirt look now. So anyway, this is our CV1, the low roof, our CV1M, which is our medium roof, to the right, and then on the far left is our MH1X demo van that we've been driving for over a year now. These vans also, they get a lot of traffic in them, and I feel like people that come to the shows, when they see them and they see how well they're holding up in quality over the years and miles and many feet that have been traffic in them, it gives them some confidence that the van will hold up and be in good condition for their adventures and as they have it over the years. Okay, so with that, let's go back and just start the main shop tour, and we'll go through things. So this area right here is what we call our systems area. So one of the things that we have done almost from the beginning, but we've really started to double down on, is building what we call assemblies first, and then we will actually build the van out of those assemblies in a final assembly. So this is kind of like moving us towards the type of build that Ford, GM, and all these giant car companies use, where the final assembly is they're not people inside the van pulling spools of wire, measuring things and stuff like that. They're actually just bolting in pre-made components. And so some of these components I'm going to show you have to do with that. So for example, this is a pre-made wiring harness that we have all spec'd out. We have a vendor who makes it, because all these fittings are custom for our setup. But this is getting us closer and closer to that kind of mass manufacturing. We have all these assemblies that we're building, and the wiring harnesses are an important step for us. So one of the things that happened recently when we started building the X series is a normal RV has about 30 circuits, 40 or something like that, with lighting and heating and all that kind of stuff. With the X series, we have over 100 circuits. There's probably about, I think we have a master list that has 140 different sensors and circuits on it. And so what happens is the opportunity for mistakes, problems, goes up exponentially the more circuits you have. And so we had to come up with these, we had to basically up our game in the wiring department. Really every department to build at the speed that we want to, and also at the quality level we want to. So the wiring harness is one example. Here is another example where we build this control panel assembly, and everything's starting to be connectorized. Right now we're making these little, we call them assembly harnesses in-house, but we're in the process of getting those made by a vendor. Everything with a goal of going faster with better quality. The faster we build, the more that we can deliver to customers. Also, our cost goes down because we're not sitting there with the vehicle. So again, these are pre-made assemblies that are made by our systems team, and then they'll be put into the vans. We have some pretty unique things here. So this is a box that we use for our in-house made BM battery management system for our 500 amp hour battery. And as you can see, it has our DC-DC charger. The circuits board is going to go in here. It's got a fan. It's just stuff that we design and make in-house. These are pretty interesting. So these are what we call our micro furnaces. These are specific to ModVans. We actually custom design these because nobody else is trying to do low voltage DC heating inside a camper van. And so we actually had to build these little micro furnaces from scratch. And these are ceiling panels, so these will go into the vans with the furnaces already on them, and they'll blow warm air. As you can see, they're kind of like built like almost like a hairdryer, but they're low voltage, so they are as efficient as they can be for resistant heating. So let's walk back over here. Give you a small little tour of some of the cool things that we've been doing. This is a device that we built just to test circuit boards. So one of the things that we've really been working on is we design and have made for us by vendors our own custom circuit boards to go with all the firmware. And here you can kind of see this is actually the history of the different circuit boards as we've learned how to control higher and higher amounts of power. So one of the things that we realize in building vehicles with very large batteries and power systems is the circuit boards, the normal circuit boards aren't set up to handle that. And if you go out to a vendor, you'll find that vendors are they build circuit boards to control. I'm just going to give you some numbers to give you an idea of the magnitude. Let's say the first vendor that we contacted, they made a board that could control 30 amps. And at the time, we already knew we wanted to control 200 amps, so we were a factor of 10 off almost. And now the circuit boards that we're designing now can control up to 500 amps. So we're just, we're 2 orders of magnitude past what's actually available on the market right now. And what that means is we're having to do a lot of R&D to figure out how to make that work. And so that's what these big copper panels are, is how we are able to modify these circuit boards to make them handle more and more power. And then this is kind of the history of ModVans, where we did different designs and we learned more and more about the process. And then this is where we are today, where we have these 3 circuit boards, our own battery management system, our own smart fuse panel, and this is a motor control board, but these would be the 3 boards that would go into an MH1X, for example. Each one of these boards has custom firmware that we wrote in-house, and then the whole thing is controlled by the ModVans app that goes on your mobile device. So we give you a tablet, and then also there's a cloud server that takes data from the devices running in your ModVans vehicle, and then puts it up in the cloud so that we can diagnose things, track things over time. And this is the same technology that companies like Tesla are doing, where they're collecting this massive amounts of data. So anyway, kind of going on with the rest of the tour. Behind me in the racks, you can see all the inventory. Now that we have more room, we have more room to kind of consolidate our inventory. We were spread out into 3 different locations. As you can see, some of the things that we buy, we have custom-made seats here. That's what's on these racks here. We have a lot of parts, custom-made bed panels, Just walk you through the shop here. And you can just see like all these seats are custom made for us by a vendor to our designs. We buy them, we get them, we warehouse them until the vans are ready to be built. I'm just going to take you through a few areas. Some of these we've seen on previous investor days. So for example, this is our mold that we use to make the pop-up tops in-house. We have a new mold for the MH1 bump out is what we call it. So we make these in-house. Squeeze through here hopefully. This is an example of one of the many parts that we design and have manufactured for us by a vendor. This ladder tire combo has some unique features. Customers love it. We put them on basically every van now, even though it's optional. Here you can see some parts staged. So this is a pop-up top ready to go. It's already been painted. That's a bump out that's going to be glued to the side. And actually you can see what that bump out looks like right there on the van behind it. So that's a custom design. We applied for a patent for that part. We'll see if we get it. Over here you can see some staging for cabinets that we have. So these are cabinets that will go into the vans. The cabinet shop is building those as assemblies that we basically bolt into the vans. These are our CNC machines. You may actually, if you've been with us for a while, you may recognize this, the smaller of the two machines. That's our original CNC machine. It's been with us for over 5 years now. Right around 5 years. And then this is our upgrade that we bought about a year ago, but we didn't have room for it at the old shop, so we kept shuffling around trying to make it work. We finally got it installed and up and running here with our big dust collection system. Basically, the old one couldn't keep up with production, so what we had to do, we bought a larger one that runs about, I think it can cut some parts about 6 times as fast, and it's got more automation, so it changes the tools by itself. And then we're going to try to squeeze through here. Hopefully this works. Again, this is that cabinet shop where you can see lots of parts in progress. This is our MH1 shower. We followed a patent for this a while back. We actually, we'll talk a little bit more about the patent activity. This is a booth that we use to do cutting and sanding, keep all the dust out of here. We're trying to keep a nice atmosphere for everybody. So this thing has giant fans and it sucks everything back into a big fan wall and then takes the particles out and then blows the exhaust over the roof. Back here, we're just going to show you a lot of the inventory that we have. Again, more cabinets that are finished, but especially during the pandemic, we kind of learned that we had to very careful inventory to make sure that we didn't run out of critical components. Examples that were really troublesome were air conditioners, bed panels, just all kinds of things like that. So we ended up really figuring out how to manage inventory. These are our aluminum honeycomb bed panels. These are pretty unique to ModVans. We figured out how to actually have these manufactured for us to our specifications. So those, we gave them the CAD, the vendor the CAD, and they actually make those. And they're amazing. They're super strong. They're very lightweight, which is unique to us. And then they come already pre-cut, so we don't have to do a lot of work to make them. We used to have to buy big sheets and cut them on our CNC. So let's see. Main thing that I want to show you all these parts on this rack here. These black parts. These are parts that we designed and we have manufactured for us, custom manufactured for us. So this is unlike a lot of other RB manufacturers in particular, but just smaller shops where they're mostly buying components from other companies and bolting them in, and cutting and bolting them in. Whereas at ModVans, we're designing just tons and tons. All these parts right here are custom made, and they all have a very specific function. So those are roof racks. These are the brackets for our seating system. Those are parts for our beds. These are for the awnings. Custom awning brackets. These are custom brackets for the propane tanks. This inventory right here is our custom window shades that we had made. We tried for years to find window shade vendor that would make to our, to have panels that we could just buy, and we just never could find anything, so we ended up making our own. Back here you'll see just more and more parts. We have our batteries, so we're making battery modules in-house. We have a little longer story about that. These are the bus bars that connect all the batteries together. The electrical panel that we didn't get to show you, that's the back plane for the big MH1X, or the X series electrical panel. And then back here are the custom pieces that we have for our boxes that you see installed in the back of a lot of our vans. So our tire ladder combo, our storage boxes, more custom boxes here. So we have these custom boxes that we use to build the assemblies. We put the pieces like the water pumps or the furnaces inside boxes, and then we can mount them under the van where they're protected from the elements, but they're not taking up space inside the van. Very unique, custom-made water tanks made to fit our conversion. So again, kind of the whole point of this part of the tour is we have a lot of stuff that we have custom made for us. So we're not just, converting vans by buying components off the shelf and bolting them on. We're designing a lot of things in-house and having vendors make them or making them ourselves. Again, you can see the ladder tire combo before we put the tire on it. So this area right here is one of the great things about this space that we were able to get. So before we were squeezed into 8,400 square feet, and we could basically have 5 vehicles inside at a time. This space you can see right now, we have 5 racks where we can lift the vans up, and then we have a lot more space over here. It was originally laid out, we could probably get 10 vans into this space. It turns out that's a little tight, so I would say, somewhere around 15 vans inside all at once. And that's really helping us, ramp up production. So that was kind of one of the big goals of this space. So again, this is the kind of the main area. We have the 5 lifts here. So at the old shop, I think we had 3 lifts, and so it's really nice to have extra lifts. All right, Laura, you about ready to start the presentation? So we're about to start the main presentation. We'll go through that as quickly as we can. We have a couple of guests joining us. Thanks for the guests coming. We'll switch over to them when it's their turn on Zoom. And then at the end, we'll have Q&A.
So I want to welcome everybody to ModVans. We have several people here in person and several people attending on Zoom. I'm Laurie. I'm the COO and co-founder of ModVans. There's the camera. Okay, and we're excited to welcome you to our bigger, better shop, and it's full of vans, and we're having a good time here growing the company. We're just going to get into the slides, and I want to talk a little bit about what we build for those of you who don't know. And we have a line of Class B RVs. We have 6 models in 3 different sizes. And we've really achieved a lot over the last few years. We started in late 2017. We made our first customer delivery in June of 2018. And since 2020, we've grown from 1 model to 6. That's pretty impressive. And we kind of have COVID to thank for that. We thought it was going to be, we thought it was going to hold us back, but what it did was gave us a great opportunity to engage in a lot of R&D to improve our products and processes. And every time we build something new, people love it. It becomes like more popular than the last thing. So what we started out with was a low roof van, and it was really a game changer for me and PJ. We wanted something that we could use for our family, that we could use for the kind of activities we enjoy. PJ's a rock climber. We like to hike. He likes to snowboard. We like to go, we don't really go to campgrounds. We just like to camp. And a lot of the places that we go are a little bit off-road. So we wanted something nimble, something that we could use as a daily driver, something that would carry our whole family or friends if we wanted to. We wanted to have options, and so it made sense for us. But we didn't plan to go into the RV business. A lot of you know our story, some of you don't, so I'll tell a little bit about it. We started out with a Class C RV. It was great for this one big trip we took, but it was hard to drive. It guzzled gas. You couldn't go off-road with it. We didn't have a place to park it, so we had to pay to store it. There were a lot of maintenance costs, and it just really wasn't a good fit for us. So we sold that, and we started looking for something that was a good fit for us, and we couldn't find it. So PJ designed something, and we got on a list at another RV place to have it built, but it was like an 18-month wait. And PJ is an engineer. He likes to build things, cars, furniture, computers, whatever. So he one day just went out in the driveway and started cutting it up. And I was kind of freaking out a little bit, but he did it, and he didn't ruin the van. And our chief of engineering, JT, is one of PJ's climbing buddies. and he actually helped PJ with a lot of the build back then. So anyway, we wanted something that would fit our family, and so it had to be safe, it had to be comfortable, you know, the beds had to be comfortable because otherwise I'm not going to go. And we also wanted something to take our pets. You know, we had a couple dogs and we wanted to be able to take them with us, and we wanted a safe place to leave them when we couldn't take them on the trails with us or something. So we built this RV. PJ built it, not I. And everywhere we went, people asked us about it. Where'd you get that? Where can I get one? And at the time we were living in Berkeley. He had a really good paying job, so we weren't really interested in building vans. But when we moved down to Ventura County and we were both trying to figure out what we were going to do for work, and neither of us wanted to commute to LA, and he's like, well, let's build a website and see if people really will buy these. So we put some pictures of our vans on a website that he built, and he put some $5 ads on Craigslist, like, hey, if you want to come see this van, meet us in the REI parking lot. And we decided if we could get 5 people to make a deposit that we would try to make this happen. And we had like 10 people sign up right away. So we leased some space, hired a couple people, started R&D, and it took us a few months to deliver the first van. But since June of 2018, we've delivered over 160 vans. We've had exactly, I checked before the presentation, 283 reservations. So it's been a success. And what we discovered was that there was a need for the van we were building. Anyway, so we do have the low roof, which is great for, you know, a daily driver, you know, 2 people, you know, maybe more depending on your needs. A lot of people choose it because they like the size. We always had people asking us to build something taller so they could stand up when the top was down. So the next model that we built was the medium roof, the CD1M. And when the top is down on that one, it has 5 feet 8 inches of standing room when the top is down. So it's really great, like especially if you have car seats that you're getting kids in and out of, there's more room. If you want to, you know, spend more time with the top down when you're camping, it's great for that. And then a lot of people wanted an indoor shower, or they're taller, like JT is tall. I think he's 6'2", and, you know, they want to be able to stand up in the van all the time. So, so we also built the high roof van, and it's more of a traditional Class B RV, but it's by far the best Class B RV on the market. It has more innovation and usability, and it's just a great vehicle. All our vehicles are just they're unique, they're special. And I want to say that when we started, we were like the only company building on the Ford Transit chassis. And I mean, other people were building on the Sprinter, but we drove all the van chassis before we built our van. And by far, the Ford Transit was the best driving experience. And that's why we chose it. Also easier to service if you ever have to service it. But they look good too. And I guess that changed a little bit in 2020 when Ford started offering all-wheel drive, and there was like a shortage of Sprinter chassis, so other companies started using it as an alternative, but still we're the only ones dedicated to the Ford Transit for now until we have our ERV, and we'll talk about that later. But in 2019, we went to an RV industry show, and they had different categories for awards, and we won the van life category. You know, we beat like Winnebago Revel and Winnebago Solace and a Coachman RV and some other, you know, for the finalists. And we won, and that kind of put our name out there for a lot of people. And so that was pretty exciting for us. So we're an award-winning company. You know, our vans they're special, you know, and we want to do something that's meaningful. And for us, you know, being able to travel with friends and family is meaningful. Being able to go where we want, when we want is meaningful. You know, making it affordable for customers with access to RV financing, RV insurance, extended warranties, that's meaningful. Our customers are anybody from like teachers and firefighters and a lot of engineers, educators, even some fancy people. but I don't know what they do exactly, but fancy people, no. But these vans are for everybody, you know, they'll change your life. But anyway, another request that we often get from people is an electric version of our van. And we're super excited about electric vehicles anyway. So we're like, yeah, one day we're going to have one. And we've actually started some R&D on it. A couple of years ago, we hired an award-winning designer to actually design the chassis that we'll build for it, and to design the inside, the layout, so we can get all the camping features we want and still have a good use of space. And then our X series, which is a huge lithium battery system, the biggest battery available in any production RV, cloud-based app to monitor and control everything and operate everything. All that will transfer to our EV when we start building it. But we're waiting for the right skateboard chassis to come along. You know, there are some companies out there building an ERV on the electric Ford Transit, but unless your favorite campground is within 20 miles of your home, it's probably not going to work very well for you. So we even had a customer in Hawaii who was considering it, but even like the volcano or whatever where he wanted to go was 50 miles away, so it wasn't going to work. So anyway, it is in our roadmap. We're super excited to move forward with that when we get funding for the R&D and the production of that. We feel like the minimum range for a practical ERV is about 400 miles of range, so we're waiting for that. And we've been keeping up with several companies that may have options for us. And so we have a master plan. You can see we've made a lot of progress since 2017. We've gone from a 2,400 square foot shop building 2 RVs at a time. And, you know, I think we had 8 people when we left there, but it was getting really crowded. And then we moved into 8,500 square feet, and we were building up to 6 vans a month. And then this year we moved into this shop, which is 23,500 square feet. And you can see we can fit a lot of vans in here. Right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know. We can fit about a dozen vans in here. So we're excited about what we can do in this shop too. Over the past couple of years, since 2020, we've done some investment crowdfunding campaigns, and we've raised about $5 million. And that's what's helped us to grow so fast. We do want to grow faster and bigger, but you know, the investment, all the investment money that we've collected, I don't know, received, received, whatever, has helped us to grow to this point. We're really grateful to everybody who's helped us do that. It's been family, friends, fans, just a lot of people. We have about 5,000 investors. And so where will we go from here? Basically, we want to get to where we're doing 10 vehicles a month, and then build a factory where we can get up to 100 vehicles a month. We want to do the R&D for the ERV and get that in production over the next year or so. And then one day we want to have a big factory. We want to have like a campground where our customers can come and they can camp and try out their van. And, you know, we can help them with that if they need to, or if they just want to come visit, they can camp nearby. You know, we've even talked about having like housing for new people who want to come work for us. They can move and stay there while they find a place. But, you know, that's the big fantasy. And eventually, you know, we would like to IPO. We want to get to the point where, you know, it's a valuable company, we can IPO, and everybody who's helped us to get to this point and beyond will be rewarded for their investment. So let's see. So we do have a lot of traction, and for us, it's pretty impressive. We've had over 250 online orders, 283 to be exact. We've had about $1 billion worth of shopping carts over the last several years, 5 years, I guess. Not everybody signs up to buy a van because they pretty much get to the last page and find out they have to wait a year or 18 months or something, and they don't want to. So they don't follow through with the reservation. But we feel like if we can ramp up production with the investment money that we raise, then we can fill more of those orders, and we're going to lose fewer of those people. And eventually we'll get to where we can fill all the orders, and, we'll be $1 billion company. So that would be exciting. Let's see. We feel like we lead the way in the Class B RV industry with our innovation and technology. Somebody, I don't know if I'm allowed to name him, so I'll say somebody did a video last year and named us as the most innovative Class B RV, and that's for our MH1X, or just the MH1. But we have some great technology that the other companies don't have. They seem to just, feel like their product works, and they keep building the same thing over and over. And we're always trying to build the next best thing. What can work better? What can we improve on? What would be exciting? Things like that. And a lot of it comes from our customers. Things that they're asking for. Originally, when we were building our vans, we just had the low roof van. It didn't really have anything on the outside. But then we had somebody ask for an awning. Somebody asked for a power step. Somebody asked for a bumper. Lift kit. And that's how now we have probably 50 options you can add on. So we do really respond to customer feedback. Sorry. Okay, here we go. So yeah, we've delivered over 160 vehicles. We're building 5 to 10 vehicles a month. We have 6 different models, and we're gaining a reputation for quality and service, and that's important to us. Like, we don't want to just be selling an RV and too bad if it works or not, and too bad if you can get it serviced or not. We really want our customers to be happy. We want them to love their vans like we love ours. I mean, we use ours all the time, and it's just, we love them. We think they're great, and we want you guys to think so too. So if you don't, you should let us know, and we'll try our best to fix that. So R&D success, again, 6 vehicle models, 3 different heights. Our designs are unique. When I talked a little bit about when we first started, we were the only ones building on the Transit. We were the only ones building something modular where you could, you can basically remove everything behind the front seat. You can move furniture in it. You can add seats or take them out. So there were a lot of things about us that were unique. Our pop-up top, it seems like, 5 years later, everybody's putting pop-up tops on their vans, but when we started, we were the only ones. So, and our pop-up tops are unique. They have the most comfortable beds. They're big. They're, they have great views. They're nice to spend time in. So I have a good marketing campaign, but I don't know if it's appropriate to say, so. So they're very strong beds, let's put it that way. Market analysis. Our vans are like 20 feet in length, so the low and the medium roof, so they fit in a parking space. That's important for a lot of people, that it fits in their driveway, that it fits in a parking space. It's, not any longer than a truck or a big SUV. All of our vans seat up to 7 people, and the seating is comfortable and safe. They have child seat tethers. They're pull tested. They recline and swivel and slide, forward or backward. So the safe and comfortable is important in all the features of our vans. The beds, the seats, the van itself, all the features. We work really hard to think, what would we feel good about putting our own family in this van? And that's how we build. So PJ drives his van every day. I have a different vehicle because we don't always ride together, but we also designed our vans to be a daily driver, and about half of our customers do that. They trade in their SUV. They don't give it to us. They trade it somewhere else. Their van, their truck, whatever, and they replace their daily driver with the van. Sometimes they're moms, sometimes they're couples, sometimes they're guys. I don't know. it's one of the cool things about my experience at ModVans is that our vans appeal to everybody. We have single women, single guys, we have couples with kids, we have older couples, we have several like retirees. We have one of our original customers, a couple in their 80s, and they spend, I want to say, about 7 or 8 months of the year in their van, and they love it. And we love to get their stories. And I love that everybody sends us pictures and stories. I love hearing about how they use their vans and the experiences they're having. So Class B RVs, even though other RVs may not be growing so much, that industry, the Class B RV industry, really started growing probably around 2019. So it's before COVID. And what's happening is younger people are buying them. They want RVs, but maybe they don't want the big ones like us. I mean, we tried out the bigger RV. It didn't work for us, and a lot of safety stuff, but we won't go into that. Anyhow, younger people are buying them. They're more affordable if you can get the RV financing. You don't have to pay to park them and store them. They don't take as much gas, so they're more affordable. With COVID, more people started working remotely. So you've got like an office on wheels, basically. Starlink is completely a game changer for that. We work pretty much anywhere. Found out the only place Starlink doesn't work is when you stop for gas and you're under the canopy. So you lose your internet connection. But, so remote working is possible. You can go where you want, when you want. You don't have to have a reservation at a campground. You can, camp just about anywhere. Freecampsite.com is a great place. But, yeah, so the Class B RV is just, even though other RV classes might not be selling as much, the Class B industry is still growing. So in our market analysis is that we have like $1 trillion market potential. I mean, it takes into account, like we talked about, people trading in their SUVs and trucks and vans or whatever, and using these as daily drivers. So potentially it could be anybody buying an SUV, a truck, a minivan, an RV. PJ threw in the Teslas because they're early adopters, and he likes to think of, people should be early adopters for our multi-purpose awesome vehicles. So anyhow, if you could look at that combined market, it's over $1 trillion. So there's a lot of market potential. And I mean, we've kind of proven it with the people who are replacing their various vehicles with our vehicles. PJ and I are both concerned with the earth, I guess, to put it. We believe in RVs, and like climate change needs to be, anyway, just that we need to do better with the earth. And so we're doing our part by speeding the transition to sustainable energy. I try to get the guys to recycle in the shop, but they're not very good about it. And I end up like sifting through the trash and the dumpsters a lot. But anyway, one day I'll train them right. But the ERV is important to us. I have an MBA. I got it from a college that had an MBA that was really focused on the environment and people, like doing something better for what is the word I'm looking for? Just that you're a sustainable company, that you're serving, your community, you're serving, you're doing things that are good for the planet, that kind of stuff. So a sustainable MBA focus. And I chose that program for a reason, because as I said before, I want to do something that's meaningful. And to me, we're providing good jobs to people. We're one of the higher paying manufacturers in the area. We give health insurance. We pay for the health insurance, like 100% of the, basic plan. We give paid time off, paid vacation. I even, like a couple of years ago, started paying everybody for the entire week between Christmas and New Year's. And because I'm like, I want to provide jobs that I would be proud to give my kids, or that I would want. I try to give our employees the things that I would want in a job. And I want to be treated well, and I want to have some flexibility for my family if I need it. We believe in supporting good causes and that kind of thing. So just that we provide good jobs. We're for the community, for people individually. With our EVs, we're going to have more of a social impact. But really, Class B RVs kind of better social impact and environmental impact than the bigger RVs, because less gas, fewer resources, and you get to spend time outdoors with your family or your friends, and all that's beneficial. So anyway, I believe in what we do, and that's important to me. So
okay,
PJ's turn.
Thanks, Laurie. All right, so here we are. I'll just kind of pick up. So Laurie went over kind of a broader picture of the master plan in terms of production and how we expect to continue to increase production. One of the things that I've found that really resonates with people is kind of explaining our three-step plan is what I call it. And we completed 2 of the steps. And so the first step was just to get into the business, just to learn how to manufacture things. I come from a software background. I'm aware of my kind of limitations there. And I need to learn about manufacturing and how to hire people and how to build things. And also to build production capacity. So for whatever we're doing, you got to have a big shop to build it, or otherwise you're building, 1 or 2 vehicles a month for the rest of your life. So you need to have that production capacity to be able to build a big, fast growing company. So we just got into the business. We learned what customers want and what they didn't want. Laurie was going through lots of examples about the seating, the different roof heights and things like that. And that we're learning, what do people really want? So, so that when we do turn up the heat on, the stove, that we're not just burning, crazy. We're putting our power into something that we know is going to work because we've proven it in the marketplace. So that was step 1, was just get into the RV business and learn what it's all about, learn how to manufacture. We did that. Step 2 was always with the vision of having this very high-tech vehicle that ultimately will have electric motors powered by hydrogen, lithium batteries. We don't know yet, but electric motors just make so much sense for wheeled vehicles. Maybe for airplanes, maybe not, but for wheeled vehicles, it really makes sense. And so how do we make that transition? My answer was, well, we build a bunch of high-tech RV systems and we put them in the gas vehicles that we have right now and see what the market says about that, see what we can do. And some of that in the shop tour, I was trying to, I don't think it all went so smoothly, but I was trying to explain, how we're learning how to build these high-tech vehicles so that we could literally, have the app that controls everything. And then we're set up so that when we do finally get that skateboard platform, that we're ready, we can, instead of starting from scratch, we're starting from this place of knowledge where we already know how to build high power circuit boards. We already know how to control everything. We already have built our own air conditioners and all these other interesting things. And so we're taking those existing systems and then finally moving them onto a fully EV platform instead of many companies that are trying to do it all at once, which, that's a legitimate thing, but I think it's a lot of risk and it's a very difficult thing to pull off. And so we've kind of done it in stages to have less risk, so that we're learning those things when we don't have so much production capacity. And then the other thing that I'm seeing right now in the EV space is Nikola is a great example. They finally delivered trucks. It took them so long to deliver electric trucks, and then they had to recall all of them back to the factory, and there's going to be tens of millions of dollars in upgrades because they delivered unsafe batteries. And so, I want to learn those lessons when we're delivering 10 vehicles a month instead of, 1,000 vehicles a month. I think that'll go a lot better. And then the final step in our plan, the 3-step plan, is to actually transition those systems onto an EV platform. And when we do that, we'll take all those lessons we've learned. And so one of the things that Laurie was telling you a little bit about hiring that designer is having these 3 different roof heights and having, these customers that we've interacted with at shows and we've delivered vehicles to. We've just learned so much about what the market wants. And I feel like that, when I look at all that information, I'm basically the product manager at ModVans, for better or worse, that I see clearly, what it is that we need to do. And having a 20-foot vehicle with the floor plan that we could do without having to have that gas motor in the front of the vehicle, I'm really excited about what we can pull off with that. So I feel like now that we're in this stage where we're ready to chase a higher production, we have the knowledge that we need to do it. I do want to talk a little bit, about our performance so far. One of the things that I think there's really two things that when I look at our numbers, obviously we've been able to increase revenue every year. I think that's just important that we've been able to build a sustainable company that is growing. We're not growing at the rate we want to be, but that's okay. So that's kind of part of the learning that we've been doing with high tech and systems and stuff like that. I don't think it was really the right time for us to go 10x, but I do think we're getting into that position where it's starting to make more and more sense to go 10x. Also, as Laurie was talking about, we're 10 times the original facility size and the factory. Every step in manufacturing capacity gives us, kind of more flexibility to do different things and to grow faster. A lot of investors do have very specific questions about what our plan is. I think earlier in the game, it wasn't quite as certain as how we were going to do it. At this stage, we're getting just more and more clear on, how long it's going to take and what those exact steps are. Right now, we're going to have a couple of shots about this. We just launched a new campaign. This slide right here is just talking a little bit about, we have those revenue numbers, but the revenues don't get our investors a return on investment. They do indirectly in that the value of the company is growing as the revenue grows. But what really ultimately gets the return is when we have that IPO, that we've been able to grow the value of the company at every step, so that if you invested, let's say in 2020, we have a current valuation now that's looks like it's 6 or 10 times as much as what you invested in, depending on how you look at it. And then when we get to the IPO, the goal is for that number to be 30 or 100 times your original investment if you're an early investor, and even if you're an investor now, that your investment would be 10x at the IPO. So that's what we're keeping in mind. And one of the questions that we get kind of from the investment community is how is this different than just some guys building vans in their garage and they got a little bit bigger every year. The difference is that we have that crystal clear goal of becoming a very large company, and having that big return for our investors. That's never been in doubt. When we decided in the very beginning to raise money, we all agreed that would be our path to the best of our ability. And to that end, one of the things I want to just talk about a little bit on this slide is, one way that I look at it and that makes me feel good about what we've done is we took $5 million from investors, basically, including myself. Laurie and I are still probably the largest cash investors in the company. And we turned that $5 million into about $15 million worth of revenue. So, that's where we are now. And we're basically a sustainable company. If we want to trim back R&D, if we want to start trimming back on a lot of the crazy stuff we're doing, then we could probably, be cash flow positive and eventually, be net profit. But that's not what we want to do. What we want to do is we want to raise $75 million and turn that into 3 times $75 million. That's what we want to do in revenue, and I clearly see that that's possible, just based on what we've done. The other thing that I want to point out is that if you compare us to a lot of other startups, you'll see that they took $5 million and they have no revenue. Literally no production, no customers. There's really nothing concrete yet to demonstrate that they could take that money and convert it into revenue down the road. There's still like a lot of mystery about, we still got to do this and we got to do that. And I go back to the example of Nikola, who, I bless them. They've really struggled mightily. They've had a lot of challenges, but, they still, in my mind, haven't demonstrated their ability to take investor money and convert it into real revenue that doesn't come back to haunt everybody. Because right now they finally delivered some trucks and, we have to, spend more money than we received in repairing those trucks. And that's not a sustainable business. So that's where, I feel like that we've made, we have a very concrete, differentiator between ModVans, where we've taken this kind of different approach where we're doing it in stages, but that's rewarded us greatly in that we have that kind of math that we can clearly show to investors. As far as what we're planning to do with this raise, part of it is we have to be realistic. There always is the chance maybe we don't raise the whole 75 million. We do have the plan kind of broken down in stages. Laurie talked a little bit about, what are our dreams? We do want to have that RV campground. We want to build a campus. We have these kind of ideas that all kind of fit together. But we have different plans depending on how much we raise. This slide right here is just talking about, kind of where we want to go in the very short term with this, the current raise that we're working on. And as you can see, the more money we raise, the more of these kind of dream projects we can tackle. So at the full amount, the 75 million, we're going to build that factory, with a big campus. We're going to have an RV campground, employee housing, and then we're just going to go as fast and hard as we can with the electric RV. Maybe not even waiting for some of those skateboard guys. Maybe we can push that. There are ways that we can push that a lot faster than what's happening in the market to support the RV industry right now, if we have the funding. So this week was last week, and this week was just huge for us. We did finally launch the $75 million Regulation A, and if you don't know, Regulation A is the big brother to what we did before, which was Regulation CF, or crowdfunding. And then Regulation A is kind of, we're a more mature company. You can raise larger amounts. And, one of the things that I was very interested in was we can actually host it on our own website. So we're in control of the marketing. One of the things that was crazy to me was like, we have this campaign, but it has to run on somebody else's website, and their website was buggy and they couldn't send emails and, all these weird things. And so having it on our own webpage, running code that I wrote is a big thing for us. And literally you can go to invest.modvans.com right now and invest. Another big difference between Regulation A and what we did with Regulation CF is that we had to go through this qualification process. That's the only word we're allowed to use, by the way. So you can't say it was accepted or approved or anything else. It was qualified by the SEC. I can just tell you, having been through that process and studying a lot of RegA campaigns, it's actually a very stringent process. We had to hire expensive attorneys and work with them and stage everything just perfectly so that we, could get it done. Even with that, it took us about a year to do the whole campaign. So it was very time, and also it cost a lot of money to do it. So, but the good news is that's over and it's kind of behind us. And now we can really focus our efforts on promoting that campaign. Of course, still, we never let go of production R&D. Don't get me wrong, but now that that's kind of behind us, then we can work on raising the money rather than getting to the place where we can raise money, which was really frustrating for me. The thing that, kind of going back to the 5 million to, got us 15 million, what's 75 million going to get us? Going back to that equation, what I want to try to emphasize is a lot of people are like, well, why can't you just, take the production you have now and become a big company with that? And the answer is you maybe could, if you're really smart and sophisticated and careful with your planning, you could. But the reality is, in today's world, that is going to take a really long time. And I can give you plenty of examples of van builders or RV companies that spent decades growing from very small amounts to, modest success, right? But I can give you contrasting examples of RV companies in particular, but lots of manufacturers that were able to successfully raise money from investors and then turn that into very, very large returns relatively quickly. And there's some really good examples in the RV industry and specifically of that. So, and then the other thing is, for me, it's a risk. So if we don't raise money, then there's the risk that somebody else sees what we're doing, thinks it's a great idea, even a large RV manufacturer, and they beat us to the punch because we chose not to pursue raising capital. So I don't want to get caught that way either. So I'm, I would say, one of the things that if you look at some of the big successful companies, you'll see they have this culture of always being very competitive in their stances, always considering, how do we get there before everybody else does? And I, give you examples of Microsoft when I was a kid, Amazon in modern times. If you look at these companies, they just grew very, very aggressively, and they raised money to do it. And I think that is not necessarily something that's required for success, but it's a very, it increases your success massively. And then, kind of going through the bullet points, you can invest right on the website. And we also did a couple things where we're basically encouraging customers to give us email addresses so we can continue the conversation, even if they're not ready to invest right now. So one of those things is the data room. You can get access to the data room that has all our business plans and financial models. But in order to do that, you have to create an account on our website, kind of starting that relationship like, hey, come join us, and then we'll give you access. You don't have to invest yet because we understand that you may not be ready from the very beginning, that it takes time to know each other before you're ready to join us at that level. And then the other thing that is kind of going back to what Laurie was saying about learning about customers is, I've also learned through this process that our investors have questions. They want to know things about, how is my investment doing? And so this is where, we want to get them to create an account on our website, and we want to share, help answer those questions. So the investor home is kind of all about that. We create a dashboard, let's call it that,
where our investors can log in and they can see, here's how much I invested. And, here's what the 85-for-1 stock split that we just did recently in support of the RegA campaign, how that impacted my stock. And then, we give them these things we call value events that, it's like we sell stock at a certain price. And if you take that and multiply it by how many shares you have, here's, an idea of what the value of your current value of your stock could be. And I've gotten some really positive feedback on this. I mean, I literally just had an investor today who was very excited that, he was able to log in with his old email address because he just couldn't get that information out of those platforms like Start Engine and WeFunder. Anyway, this has been something that actually I thought it would be pretty cool, and it worked out better than I wanted to. And, it's just one way to kind of bring us all closer together. The next two slides are just about team, and then we have a couple of guest speakers, and then we're going to do R&D. So hang with me for a minute. We don't have any Tesla employees on our cap table, and we don't have any Rivian employees, that are our production managers. What we have instead is we have a team that's actually proven themselves by delivering vehicles, doing hardcore R&D, and a lot of success. So, it's a fine distinction, but, what I kind of see is like, I do see companies that have raised substantial money and they have Tesla employees on their, on their team slide. But, was it the inventory manager? What was he actually in charge of, And the difference here with ModVans is, what we're in charge of because we've done it. We're actually there. We're not talking about, hey, we might deliver these fantastical RVs 5 years from now, if we get even more funding. We're like, no, we built and delivered 160 vehicles. We generated $50 million of revenue with the team that we have now. And this same team is going to continue to lead us to the next stage of our thing. And then, this is just the kind of big team. So is Joe on the presentation with us, Sophie? Yep. It's about his turn.
Yeah.
So, okay. So I'm just going to, instead of boring you with this slide, which, is the same slide we've been presenting, it's in our deck. You can click on the LinkedIn links. I'm just going to let one of our biggest investor just tell you a little bit about himself and why he decided to invest in ModVans.
Yeah. So I guess for us on the Zoom. Yeah. I worked for NASA. I recently retired, but, and I have a family. So I was in 2018, kind of on the next bullet, I was looking to do something different with investments. And I ran across ModVans. I forget which one it was. I think it was the Start Engine first. And I saw their van, and the modular concept of it was what caught my eye. It was different than like a conversion van. I had owned conversion vans most of my life. And so that's kind of how things got started. And in 2018, I made a modest investment in ModVans and one other company on the Start Engine. And then come 2021, I kind of followed them, and they were still in business. So that was a good thing. Lots of times startup companies, it's hard to keep them going, but they were there. And so was the other company that I invested in. But you heard PJ talk about some companies starting and not making revenue. He said it, they don't have like an income. Well, that was the exact same thing I saw. So here's ModVans, selling vans from almost day one. So they had some revenue, and they were keeping at it. The other company, even to this day, that I invested in a smaller amount, was just the case that PJ said. They still have yet to make a sale, make any revenue. So in 21, I decided to make a bigger investment. I had invested in stocks most of my life, but that's just traditional stocks you buy from any brokerage house. But I was looking to do something different, a little more risky, and so I made a bigger investment in 21. I don't have a ModVan currently. I've kind of just taken I don't really need one now, but I want one. And so I have that bullet in there, and I do plan to get one someday. I've just kind of taken the route of doing the investment first, and later on, I really do look forward to buying one of their vans. Let's see. So PJ has he wrote the bullets there. I actually didn't find the ModVans Facebook group for a while, but that's nice. I like looking at that once in a while. I guess that's kind of all. I would say I look forward to their future growth, and things that I've seen, since 2018 was just what made me invest in them. And as you hear PJ and Laurie state, they still look like they're building vans and they're growing. So I think it's a good investment.
All right, guys, thanks for having me. Shout out to PJ and Laurie and JT over there, Sophie as well, the whole team at ModVans. I'm honored that you guys invited me to come in here. Of course, myself and my wife Lola, we are very small investors in ModVans, and we're happy to do that. But the big thing that we do is we are YouTubers, and specifically, we have a YouTube channel called Stranger Palooza, where we talk about Class B vans, camper vans. And, in my time, I think we've been doing this now for 3 years. We've got about 10 million views on our channel currently. And when Laurie was talking about the channel that said that ModVans was the most innovative vans, that was us. So you guys have my permission to repeat that anytime you feel necessary. I really do think what you guys are offering is on the cutting edge of what I see in the industry. And I think as both Laurie and PJ have said earlier, if you look at the traditional van companies out there, they pretty much know what their market is, who's buying the vans right now. And they're focused on delivering those vans to the folks out there. And I think there are some companies that do very well in that space doing that. But cutting edge is a dangerous place for a lot of these companies. And I just heard PJ say that there are companies who want to go out there and plant the flag just to say, hey, we were the first guys that did something. I think, as well as PJ and Laurie were talking about here, ModVans is actually going out there building vans. I know that the future here is going to be, vans on the electric platform, which we're very, very close to. I think the only thing that we're looking at right now is battery size, which is easy for these guys to expand. But ModVans has been out there building vans and doing it not just in a modular way, but adding, I've seen innovations like a powered pop top, the battery, the clamshell battery that goes in the floor and gives you up to 2,000 amp hours. Those tiny, almost old school hard drive like size heaters. There's so many things that I've seen here that ModVans has basically been developing that, yes, I would consider you guys to be on the cutting edge of what's going on, really putting the work in, building and delivering vans to your customers. So I say kudos for that. Not everyone's going to do that right now. And the big thing I'm looking forward to is to see you guys actually start building on an electric platform. I would love to see a prototype. And that's why you need the investments. And I totally understand that. And that's why you guys have our support and will continue to have our support. When I speak to folks out there in the industry, we spend a lot of time doing that, actually talking to the bigger manufacturers that you guys would recognize. I won't mention them here necessarily, but when we talk to those guys, we talk about ModVans. We encourage them to look at what you all are doing. I think sometimes when you focus on the current customer that you have and what you think they want, you forget about building the thing that folks don't even really know that they want yet. And that's what ModVans is doing. So if anyone has any questions for me, I'll be happy to answer that. If you're looking for more content, you want to know more about ModVans, I think right now we probably have about 3 videos up, and we have 3 videos in the work, including one on the old factory, which obviously by the time I put it up, it will be a little outdated, but I think it's still good information. And personally, I'm looking forward to seeing the new factory and see what you guys are doing with the transit trail as well, and bringing that content out there. So thanks very much for having me. I really give kudos to you guys. I think in my 3 years of looking at this industry very closely, I have yet to come upon a company that is making the sacrifice that you guys are making in order to build the future vans. And I really do believe that the Class B world is only going to continue to grow. I don't think it was just because of COVID. I think this is the direction that folks are going to go. This is either going to be people's first home or their second home. When they're on the road, they can get around, go the places they want to go, live, work, and play out of their vans. So I think that's it. I won't run on here, but thanks to everyone for having me. I appreciate it. Oh, if anyone's looking to get in touch with me, you can email me at strangerpalooza@gmail.com. And you can also look on social media. We're on Instagram, Facebook. I'm also on X, formerly known as Twitter.
Back online. Okay, so I guess we're ready for JT, I think. Let me get your slides up here, JT.
Thank you for joining us. So I want to talk to you about what the whole engineering team has been doing in 2023. A lot of stuff. Again, we never rest. We always do more and more work. We did shift the focus of the whole team a little bit this year. So in the past years, we created a lot of new models, a lot of new features. But 2023, now we're really focusing on the big mission of the company, which is scaling the production. And we've done that with really focusing our attention on two main disciplines. One is manufacturing engineering, and then the second one is electrical engineering with all the X-series innovation that we have going on. So manufacturing engineering, like we've been talking about, we moved this year into 23,000 square feet. So for the engineering team, it was a challenge of redesigning the whole shop floor, creating a flow of production. How are we going to bring the vans in? In which order are we going to build them? How do we organize the factory so that we build faster? We build faster and we can build more units per month. We created new workstations as we hired more people. And now we have, the technicians have specialties. So now we have 10 different teams that they have their own specialty. We've been training them on fewer tasks and doing more quality control on specific tasks. We've been implementing tools for tracking and scheduling production as we're growing as well. So now we have about 750 procedures to build these 6 different vans. We need a way to organize those tasks, to transmit information to the technicians, and also a way for us to track where we are in the production and how we can schedule 6 to 10 to 12 vans a month. We're always doing continuous improvements as well on all the assemblies that we created over the last years to integrate them with all the new models that we have. And we welcome 2 new team members. We welcome 2 new team members on our engineering team this year, Eric and Louis. So they are both engineering technicians, and they've been helping us a lot with creating the documentation, training the personnel, and organizing the shop and creating the workstations. Oh, can I go next? Where is it? On the electrical engineering side, in 2023, we've been working on refining the X-series systems. So we can have either 1,000 or 2,000 amp hour of lithium in the van. And we've been creating and refining those systems to improve the manufacturing and the reliability of it. One big part was creating wiring harnesses. So as the systems get more complex, we wanted to have OEM quality wiring harnesses in the vehicles, something that we do not have the capability to do in-house, and we don't have the tooling to do in-house either. So we looked for a vendor that was, it's always a challenging endeavor to find a vendor brave enough to follow ModVans' path and pace of work, I guess. But we found a great company, and they've been manufacturing brand new wiring harnesses for us. So we have wiring harnesses to accommodate all the different vehicles. Altogether, that's over 1 mile of wiring in the vans. That's over 300 connectors. So now we have highly complex, but also highly integrated systems. We've been working a lot on the electronics as well. So refining the designs of the PCBs. So we want to control all the systems and integrate all the systems in the van in a better way and more elegant way than some off-the-shelf products or some other companies can do. You'll end up with a lot of different companies just kind of grab whatever they can, and you'll end up with 6 different screens in the vehicle to control the furnace and to control the AC and to control the water and all that stuff. We want to have the capability to design our own systems and integrate everything ourselves, so that, again, to get us ready for making the big move to the ECV1. Once we tackle that and we can master the DC circuits on the gas engine, for us, it'll be a much easier leap to tap into the power of the electrical chassis and have our systems run that way. We've been doing a lot of testing and a lot of stress testing and reliability on our systems. We've been learning a lot about the PCB design and the ways to handle big current. That's something that not many companies or even PCB manufacturers do. So it's been actually extremely challenging, and we failed quite a bit, but we do have awesome and remarkable troubleshooting and fixing capabilities in-house. So the team is very well trained on what we're doing, and everybody understands exactly what needs to be done. I think the goal is very clear. So when we run into obstacles, we have the capability to quickly solve it and brainstorm on finding a solution. And that's something that's giving us at ModVans a big advantage and compared to off-the-shelf products. Most of the products right now probably can handle only 1/10 of the current that we're trying to do. And it's always fun when we have vendors coming in and visit, and we show them our wiring harnesses and our PCBs, and we explain to them how it works. Everybody just starts laughing and telling us, "You're crazy, it's impossible, nobody can do it, and you can't buy those systems." But we've been doing it, we've been delivering vans like that, and it works. We have it in our personal vans as well. So it's electronics innovation that we've been bringing to the RV industry. We're also working on finding a new vendor to make the batteries for us. So we have a pretty good understanding of how to arrange the modules inside the vehicles. What do we want? What we want them to do? What do we need to monitor? How do we integrate it with all the systems? But for us, it's still pretty time consuming to make those batteries and create those assemblies. We want to be able to just click a button and press a PO and receive 600 batteries for the next month. So we're working on that. We've made pretty good progress. Actually, we have a few vendors who are very interested in this product. Again, something that doesn't exist yet. When we go to the shows or the battery companies who are getting interested in the RV market, they've never heard of a 1-inch floor battery that would go inside the vehicle. We've done some design engineering this year, not too much, but we've been playing around with some stuff. So we got a new big machine, CNC router. So that requires a lot of updated CAM, how to write the new programs to process all the materials that we have here. We've played with the Starlink mount, which is pretty cool. Now we only have it on PJ's van for now, but it kind of deploys at the same time as the Popup top raises. We've been integrated our systems and kind of refining the design to be installed on the trail models. So we're one of the very few in the country to have a trail model. So the one behind me right now is a brand new 2023 MH1 trail. Some stuff is slightly different, so we're kind of learning that as well. almost fits, but we're making it fit. This year we had the pleasure to attend SEMA, and Laurie brought our brand new CV1 demo that was parked right in front of the SEMA main entrance door. So that was pretty exciting. We got some good footage of that as well. Software engineering, super busy as well in 2023. So now we have 3 software engineers in the team. Everybody's working overtime. PJ, one of them. Working a lot on refining the capabilities of the X series software. We have a pretty big series of sensors inside the vehicle to monitor temperature and to do a lot of logic based on that. So we've really dove down to the components scale of those systems, and now we're really trying to understand how the chips work and how do we make it how do we make the system work better with what we have. A lot of progress as well on integrating everything together. So now we have capabilities to control the inverter. We switched vendor. We got a new, lighter, better inverter model that we can control through the app as well. We're doing some work right now to make the app better, more user-friendly, and it's going to have some cool design. It's going to look really nice. A lot of challenges with the communication protocols between all the different boards inside the vehicle. So some vehicles have up to 3 PCBs, and they have to communicate each other. They have to be all in sync. So PJ has been battling that for several months. Now we have a reliable Wi-Fi/USB solution. And also the software team has been transitioning and helping a lot the production team. As we are getting those complex systems in the production line, now they're coming down and training the technicians on how to set up the vans, how to teach them to test the systems and stress the system. So it's been really cool for them as well to not only be on the computer 24/7, but spend some time on the shop floor and help all the technicians. The exciting things to come, we still have some huge projects that we want to tackle. The list kind of remains somewhat the same, and we just go down one by one, year after year. The big one is the thermoform wall panels. So we're pretty excited to tackle that in 2024. So far, we're still doing fabric upholstery inside the vehicles, which is a pretty skilled task, difficult to teach, and it's very time consuming. So we want to be able to automate that and make our own thermoform panels, have different textures and design and colors, and make them modular different for the several vehicles. We want to work on some of the outside accessories, but that's really kind of icing on the cake. It's more like the fun stuff on the weekend. More PCBs. We are always doing more PCBs. So now we need a special board for the 504 battery, and now we want a special board to handle aftermarket custom audio and media stuff. We're redesigning the X series controls again for the 5 or 6 time, and obviously the ECV1. So all this work that we've been doing not only is to get ahead of the competition in terms of Class B RV, but it's really to set us up for the ECV1. Like I mentioned, integrating the systems, creating the wiring harnesses, it's really the lesson that we need now, so that when we do get the electric skateboard, we can almost do plug and play, or at least have a lot of the heavy lifting already done. So thank you everybody for joining us today. I think maybe we have a few more slides on some details if we want to, or we'll probably take some questions.
And then we'll hop down to the appendix if
Yeah.
if you have questions.
I have a question, PJ.
Okay.
Does the ModVan have any patents already?
So we have several patents pending. We didn't talk about it too much. That was Laurie's slides. So we have two patents that have been awarded. The first one was for the pop-up top. And then the second one was for the pop-up semi-dry bathroom. So I guess the patent office likes our things that move up and down. But those are actually, you know, when we make the list of patents, I kind of like have in my mind, like, what are the ones that I want the most? And I have to say, those are the two that I wanted the most. So I'm really glad that we were awarded those two patents. You know, our main goal with the patents is just to make sure that somebody else doesn't patent it and keep us from building it. So you know, they're called defensive patents. We're not planning to go out there and try to find people to sue, but you know, and if a competitive manufacturer wanted to license those patents, we'd certainly be open to that. So and we have several patents pending. So hopefully we'll get some more. JT is excited because one of those is his. Yeah, his name is officially going to be on a patent. Yeah, the pop-up semi-dry bathroom. Yep. Other questions, Sophie? So the plan for that is basically, you know, we're going to ramp up production with whatever is, you know, in front of us when we have the ability to do that, you know, the shop space and the money. And if that's gas, then it will be gas. I'm kind of one of these people is like, you know, if we have something and it's working, we're not going to just step away from it. I don't think that makes sense, you know, but I do believe at some point it will make sense to, you know, like, oh, we're selling 90% EV and 10% gas, then maybe it doesn't make sense anymore. But that's going to be several years in the future. And, you know, one of the things that's a little different, I think, is, you know, we're going to make that decision based on data. It'll be totally data driven by the market. One thing that, and I think it comes somewhat from my background in software startups, but everything we do gets product market tested. Some of those accessories that we're talking about, the outdoor accessories, we don't just build those because we think we're cool. We wait until customers start asking us for them. And then I throw a price out. I don't even build it then. I throw a price out, and I always throw a high price out just to see how bad they really want it. And, you know, that's kind of the approach that we take. And so that same kind of customer driven, data driven feedback is what we'll use to decide, you know, the product line going forward, whether it's fully electric, whether it's still gas. Obviously, you know, there's a lot of factors outside of our control. If gas suddenly is $10 a gallon, guess what? The EV is going to be a much easier sell. But, you know, that's a great question. So yes, the wiring harness vendor is in the U.S. We don't really talk about that too much because it's kind of a balancing act. There's certain things that we just cannot buy in the U.S., but we do have a very, very strong preference for things that are made in the U.S., you know, with U.S. made materials as much as possible. So, you know, that's always kind of our first step is like, and the ladder tire combos, all those things, the wiring harnesses, we have a lot of U.S. vendors, our sewing goods, our textile goods, those are all, you know, made in the U.S. with U.S. vendors. We do have vendors, you know, from other countries. We had some French vendors for a while. We don't use their seats anymore. Oh yeah, our seats are made in the U.S. You know, if I had to think about it, you know, like 95% of everything we buy that's custom made for us from a vendor is made in the U.S. So, and we do work for that. That's something we strive for. Okay, yeah, I thought that question when I was there. So PCB it stands for printed circuit board. So those circuit boards, I don't know if you were there the shop tour earlier on, but those are the custom circuit boards that we have made, and it's a process. So there's actually several steps. You know, just very briefly, basically we design the circuit board, then we contract with a vendor. They're usually called a PCB house, and then they will make the PCB, and then they may actually put the little doodads on them, which are called components, resistors, capacitors, microchips. They may put the components on there. That's a separate step though called assembly. So sometimes the one company will make actually the printed circuit board, which is the copper part, the thin copper part with fiberglass panels. And then, you know, another company will do assembly, or sometimes you'll find one company that does it all. And we've kind of done it all. So that's another example of, you know, the first PCBs we had made, they were made in China because that was kind of like the place that everybody knew how to do it. Then I worked really hard and I found a series of vendors, and that's actually, so the assembly step is actually done by a local company, a company that's literally driving distance from us. And that's been a kind of interesting relationship and process.
He also mentioned he liked their CNCs.
Yeah, thank you. He liked the CNCs.
Lee, oh no, the last name,
That's okay.
Gervad. How long is the current campaign going to last and what bottlenecks are you experiencing and how are you solving them?
Let's see. So I'll tackle this question in two parts. So first question is, how long is the campaign going to last? So in the documents, basically I designed it to last 2 years, which sounds crazy, but we are really committed to raising this money, and we know it's going to be a lot of work and effort. These kind of things, we're a brand new company. We understand that vendors, investors are going to take time to get in to know us. So when I kind of planned it out, I was like, I'm willing to just go at this thing for up to 24 months. Obviously, we hope that it goes a lot faster. I hope, somebody famous talks about us next month and we sell the whole round out in a month or two. So there are, ways that it could go faster, but that's kind of the path that I see is, somewhere between 1 year and 2 years to get the full round set. And then just so people know, my back of the envelope plan right now that we've all discussed, our executives have all, our main directors and stuff have discussed this. Basically, our plan right now is we have this one RegA campaign. We're going to do a second RegA campaign, and there's some reasoning for that we could discuss. And then after that would be the IPO. So that's kind of our step-by-step. Obviously, if those first 2 RegA campaigns go faster, we get a little bit faster to the IPO, but we really need that money to get to where the IPO makes the most sense. And I don't want to IPO too early. So I've seen quite a few companies that are kind of in similar spaces that they got convinced to do the IPO early and things just didn't work out. They didn't work out for the investors. They're not really working out for the companies. And so we kind of want to wait and do what we can with the RegA campaign first. And then once that's kind of run its course, then we'll start, making the big plans for the IPO. And then what's the biggest bottleneck? Honestly, the biggest bottleneck right now is funding. So that's why, we started this campaign 1 year ago. I had no idea it was going to take so long to get off the ground. But, I just kind of was looking at ModVans. I was like, what is really holding us back? We don't have enough money to hire the team of engineers we need. We need, these battery modules from China. Some of those Chinese guys were like, oh, $3 million for, a container load. I don't know. I'd buy $3 million worth of batteries, but, there's some economy of scale that we'll get once we can raise more money. So I would say that's our biggest bottleneck right now. Before at our old shop, definitely it was the space. We just didn't have enough space, but we've kind of somewhat taken a little bit of pressure off of that container by moving to this space. We are pretty full here, but I think we can increase our production significantly here before that becomes a bottleneck again.
Okay. Then there's Jay Littlepage asks, giving your pace of innovation, upgradability is a competitive differentiator.
Yes. Yeah. No. This is actually something that came as a happy byproduct. When I originally designed my own van, it was modular, almost by accident. And then as time has gone out, we have discovered that it is a huge competitive advantage for upgradability. So we have customers, and the biggest scenario is actually kind of an interesting case that I would have never thought about because you just don't think about these things. We have customers that their lives change and they want to sell their van. And then the new customer who's looking at their van says, hey, I want those new seats. I want those new window covers. There's things that they see that are coming out recently that, weren't available. And then we have the ability, because it is modular, to say, yeah, you can do that. Or with our X series, we actually sell, the battery in 2 different sizes, basically half of your floor or the full floor. And it is possible to bring a van back. We don't encourage it, but is it possible, if a new owner wanted the full battery, we could do that. And we don't have to necessarily throw away all the cabinets and all that other stuff because it is modular. We can take those things out, redo the interior, and then build it back. And then that comes in with service. When we have a big service issue, like a floor battery would have to have some kind of work done to it, it is possible for us to use that modular capability to take those items out and bring it back in. So there's actually a whole series of things like that we're, one of the plans that we're going to do with this RegA campaign is really start explaining to the world, because a lot of our investors and customers already know, but explain to the rest of the world, why what we think is better than what other companies are doing. I've talked some about the modular thing, but another thing about that modular is we put all these appliances in the walls and under the van and on the roof, and what that means is if you open up one of the cabinets in a ModVans vehicle, you're going to see that it's empty, unless there's a wheel well or something really critical in there. But if you open up a cabinet in a most Class B RVs, you're going to see that there's a furnace in there, there's batteries in there, there's all kinds of stuff, and there's no room for your stuff in there because that's where those vendors put it. And we put our stuff other places so that, the inside of the van is for your stuff, and of course the van itself. So those are big competitive advantages that we haven't been talking about as much as we will coming in the future, because now is kind of the time where, we're moving our focus on, just super heavy R&D and, figuring out production to, how do we get the word out about ModVans so that we can get to that next place we want to be. Yeah, I'm reading the questions. Have you considered 10-gallon black tank to avoid? Yeah, so definitely black tank. So this is kind of a very detailed RV question that a lot of people won't know about, but there's different kinds of ways that the toilet is always the most popular subject about any RV. If we go to an RV show, everybody wants to know, where's the toilet? So anyway, that's just human nature, I guess. But anyway, so in the camper van space, kind of the natural toilet is one that's removable. You can kind of do it, but in the traditional RV space, there's this thing called a black tank with this giant tank underneath the vehicle, whether it's a trailer or a van, that would hold all the waste sewage. And it has bigger capacity. That's basically what it is. And it's kind of, in some ways, it doesn't seem as weird, because with a cartridge toilet, like what we normally do, you end up having to carry your sewage around, right? So anyway, a lot of people definitely have a strong preference for a black tank. We will build vehicles with a black tank in the future. It's just not something that we've tackled right now. So we have kind of designs and everything's kind of ready to go. But again, it's something, one of the things that I think is important is we do have 6 models and different sizes. So I don't, want to say that we're super hyper focused, but we do like kind of pick and choose some of the things that we tackle. So we've kind of shied away from trying to do too much like normal RV stuff where, we could focus on batteries and stuff like that. But we'll eventually come back and do those things. So yeah, the answer is we'll do that eventually.
What are customers saying?
Okay, so this is kind of a chassis specific question, and it's going to have different answers. So it really depends. So my kind of thought is I don't want to spend too much time and energy on gas platforms in general when in my heart, I know EV is the future. But on the other hand, it really depends on what's available to us, and it's more nuanced than that. So for example, right now, Transit there's no like modern full-size van that you can just buy from a manufacturer that's a hybrid in the US. So they do actually have hybrid models of the Transit available in Europe, but they're not in the US, and Ford's basically pushing their full EV van and not planning to bring their hybrid into the US as far as I know. Now that could change for Ford, because they're having great response to their hybrid F-150 right now. And Dodge is getting tons of press for was essentially a hybrid truck that they're promising, 800 miles of range or something crazy. So there is a lot of momentum in that space. And certainly, if we could get a hybrid Transit and customers were interested in it, then ideally it would be a plug and play for us. We just move our conversion onto that, and we would certainly take advantage of that. Again, it's kind of like with the electric Transit. We did the market research, instead of just jumping in and building a conversion. I talked to people over and over again. The customers, I had multiple people in Hawaii, not just one customer, who said, hey, I wanted the electric Transit. And I had to go through the steps. Do you know it has 100 miles of range? No, I had no idea. Do you know it costs this amount? No, I had no idea. So we have to go through these steps. And the key is what we call product market fit. So if that hybrid Transit is available to us and it's pretty easy and it has product market fit, oh yeah, we're going to do it. On the other hand, if it's like, am I going to force a hybrid, when it doesn't exist? Am I going to engage in heavy R&D to create it? Probably not, because I would rather put that same effort and energy into an EV. So it's a complicated answer. So this is a great question. So, and again, it's a little bit nuanced. So, so we definitely are doing our best to standardize things. I mean, that's kind of going back to the assemblies. How do we standardize those things? How do we keep track if we do need to make a difference in, what one customer ships? I'll just tell you this right now, I am the tech support. If you call, I might be programming, I might be raising RegA. So, I'm hyper aware of, making sure that these systems, that when we deliver them, are serviceable and maintainable, and that we know what's different. One thing that we have done this year that we didn't talk about in the presentation is we've been through a lot of different ways to service vans remotely. So we have customers all over the US right now. We only have a factory in Camarillo. We're not planning to build a dealer network. So how do we deal with that? And, my original answer was, well, we'll send you to, an RV repair shop, we'll get you an RV mobile mechanic, right? What we've been doing this year is that had kind of some wins, but especially with the more complex electronics it was not really working so well because the technicians didn't really understand those systems. So I'm kind of going back to that. And what we're doing now is we're building a network of, we are very plugged into the camper van community, and there are some great camper van manufacturers. They're not innovating like ModVans, but they have super attention to detail. They build very expensive battery systems. So they have the techs that are capable of working on our circuit boards and swapping things out. And so that's kind of a two-pronged attack. Prong one is that I identify those shops that I feel like are good partners for us, and we offer to service their customer vehicles as well if they have customers in Camarillo, and that's worked out really well for us in the couple of times that we've been able to do it. And then the second thing is building like real service procedures. So unlike if you were to buy a camper van from a smaller manufacturer where they don't have an owner's manual, they don't have any service manuals, we actually have really detailed owner's manuals, pictures, and all kinds of documentation. And we have a lot of that information on the service side. I am kind of doing it somewhat as the things come, but like, let's say you have a problem with the inverter. We've had enough problems with the inverter where we have a very elaborate service manual that covers diagnostics and repair. And then that's what we share with those vendors that we work with. Or even with a customer who's willing to tackle some, depends on what the problem is, but we have service manuals for those. So basically, documenting and figuring out how to do that, and scaling it that way. Okay, so this is another, kind of like product market fit question and focus question. Yeah, so certainly at some point down the road, we'll build models without pop-up tops. Right now, we have limited production capacity. We have all these different limitations. And so it doesn't really make sense for us to jump on every little market. But certainly, a van without a pop-up top would be more for individuals or couples in the larger space. And there's a big demand for that. So when we go to the RV shows, the shows, we do get a lot of requests for that. And eventually we'll service that market. We're not tackling that right now because we're focusing our R&D on what JT was talking about, building the assemblies and all that other stuff. And, you might think, oh, building a van without a pop-up top is easier. But the truth is there's still work to be done. Somebody has to figure out how to finish the ceiling because we don't have a ceiling that doesn't have a pop-up top in it right now. So there is engineering work that has to be done. Again, with more funding, maybe that's that's kind of a low-hanging fruit that we could certainly hand off to new engineers to bring in, have them work on some more mechanical things. So with more funding, we may be able to tackle some of those a little earlier than what's happening right now.
In Florida.
Yeah, so that's the same answer. We actually have a couple people that we've worked with in Florida that have done really great work for us. And so we have a network of people, and then we have a process in place. I mean, our main thing is, kind of like with if you have an extended warranty, we do ask that you contact us, that we have them, to pre-authorize service. So then we can support them with the manuals and stuff. So they don't spend a lot of time troubleshooting when, we literally had a problem a long time ago with a Ford dealer who charged a lady $500 to tighten a bolt, and, my comment to the guy who eventually called me was, if you had called me before you started doing all that diagnostic work, I would have told you there's only one possible place that there could be a problem, and it takes 10 minutes to get to, I promise. So, those are some examples, but yeah, we do have customers in Florida, in New York, and when they have problems, we're locating these kind of high quality, builders that have the same ethos as ModVans and work with them.
The buyers.
Okay, so this is an interesting question. So there's really kind of two answers to it. The first one is, okay, there's a huge project in the works to improve the website, the app, and bring them up to kind of, I think it's fair that, there's a certain expectation of the way that it should look and function. And we haven't quite met that. Part of that is that the world kind of evolved since that original layout was made. The other thing is we've just been focusing our efforts on the van. The flip side is, the other side of that coin is it's not really, bubbled up as the most important thing because we, still can't build fans quite fast enough to meet demand. So, I guess if that was like literally holding up sales, it may become like more of a focus. What I think is going to happen is the funding will come and become available for us to do those projects ahead of our ability to really take advantage of them. So it's all going to work out is the short story. Okay, yeah. So we got some good comments about, we thank everybody. This whole thing with the investment campaign and getting investors and stuff like that, it's been quite a learning process for me. My background's kind of more traditional venture capital, where you work your way up the chain of connections and you find these, people that are in control of everything, and eventually you convince them that you're smart enough to do it. And I've done that path before. And this is much more interesting, where, we have a lot of different people of all walks of life, both as customers and investors. And I look forward to, to meeting many, many more of you as we ramp up this Regulation A campaign. Okay, yeah. So this is actually an easy question to answer, because you can just look at the history. So the automotive industry has been in business for a long time. And one of the things I really started to double down on is like, let me look at the history of the automotive industry and why do they do things. I mean, an interesting factoid is we've had V8s almost since the automobile existed in the US. And that's because American consumers are obsessed with giant engines, giant powerful engines. It's not a big thing in the rest of the world, but in the US, it's like everybody wants to know how much torque and horsepower you have. And you guys probably all know how much torque and horsepower your engine has, even though, like, for most purposes, it's not really important. It's just a thing that Americans like, but it's important to know that so that you can respond to that when you're selling vehicles, right? So the thing goes back to colors is it's kind of a balance, because if you offer every possible color, it gets really expensive. So what Ford and these guys do is they rotate the colors, and they'll rotate a few new colors in, and they'll keep the popular colors. So that, like Sophie was saying, or Laurie was saying, there was a green color, and it wasn't super popular. So it was around for 3 years, I think. Yeah, 3 years. So will they rotate a green back in? I don't know. Right now they're interested in the blues. So they actually offer 2 blues, right? They offer
One of them only lasts a year. They're down to 1 blue.
1 blue. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, so the big color right now is gray. So if you like the shade of gray, you're in luck, because there's like 5 of them to choose from. So anyway, yeah, so grays are definitely in right now. And historically, white is the color, and they don't, the van white is too white for like most consumer tastes. Most consumers, when they think of white, they're really thinking of that pearl white. That's the color that's super popular. I mean, I can't remember. I was looking one time at the statistics, and pretty much all SUVs, if you look at it in a certain way, are all white SUVs. That's what everybody buys in the US. And so anyway, very popular color. And then luckily we have this nice avalanche gray, which is pretty close to a pearl white.
Well, but with the Transit in particular, it was designed by Ford to be a cargo van, a service van, a work van, not a camper van. And in 2020, they started offering the all-wheel drive. They came out with a couple new colors. Now they're building the Trail, but they do have more grays, shades of gray now than they used to, and not so many reds or blues or greens. But maybe as more people buy them as personal vehicles instead of work vehicles.
Yeah, the Transit Trail is interesting, because this is really Ford's only time they've really focused on the consumer segment of the van market. So it'll be interesting to see what they end up deciding about it. So, like, if this is fun for them, they do offer in a lot of colors. ModVans probably has more fun colored vans than any other place in the US right now. We'll wrap up the WebEx, and just, everybody can chill out and have cookies.
Thanks for everybody who
Yeah,
came
thanks.
in person.
Yeah, thank
Thanks
you.
for everybody who attended online.